The Chicago Bulls, with 3 days off and finally having time to practice and finally having time to rest and finally having time to go over some of the mistakes that we've seen, came out in a game and looked like a worse version of the Chicago Bulls team that was dealing with a back-to-back. A worse version of the Chicago Bulls team that was missing Zach LaVine. A worse version of a Chicago Bulls team that was missing players last year. And Billy Donovan calls the team out. Billy Donovan basically goes in his press conference and he says, hey, listen, you got to come out with the right attitude. You've got to come out with the right mindset. You've got to come out with, it doesn't matter, again, right, worrying about what the referees do. And this is the one thing about Justin Fields that we haven't seen on his Bulls team at all. Justin Fields, while, yeah, the refs make some tough calls. They make some interesting calls. Yeah, it looks bad. I hate to see it. I hate all of that, right? Like, the Bulls sit there and they argue. Justin, hey, let's play through it. Let's figure it out next play. They'll sit there and they'll argue. They'll sit there and they'll debate. They want to, and on the other end, right, somebody's going down for a layup. Somebody's going down for a shot. Somebody's trying to figure out what the right move is for this team. Or not what the right move, what the right mindset is for this team at the beginning of the season is Billy Donovan's biggest struggle, along with the fact that I didn't think he coached a very good game yesterday. Michael Porter Jr. comes out and cooks you. Michael Porter Jr. came out and he absolutely cooked you. In 24 minutes, he had 31 points. And Billy Donovan throws Alex Caruso out there on him multiple times. And every time Caruso was on him, he starts cashing out. Every time Patrick Williams was on him, yeah, he's still knocking down shots, but all of a sudden they're tough shots. It's not him just, hey, let's lace this up. Cash. You lost the game where Nikola Jokic didn't score 10 points. And Billy Donovan, listen, I like how he uses his press conference. He calls out the Bulls in the press conference basically saying, hey, listen, you got to be better. We got to be better as a team. We can't live on these moments in the past. And you see it so often. They live on these moments. They sit there and it's just like debating with the ref, arguing with the Vooch, Zach, DeMar, all three of them, even Dragic to an extent, right? Sitting there trying to work over the ref, but at the same time, a play is happening down on the other end and somebody's getting an easy bucket. At the same time, right now, you can running back down there trying to get back into play. Not only are they getting an easy bucket, but you're also getting a foul on the wrist. And so you got to figure out what the mindset is that you want to come into these games with. You got to figure out the Bulls' mindset yesterday was awful. And for the most of this season, right, Bulls have lost 4 of their last 5. For most of this season, the Bulls' mindset has been awful. Coming out slow, coming out lethargic, coming out right. Hey, listen, second of a back-to-back. Zach LaVine coming back in, right? I need to see more out of him. I need to see more out of him. Even in this game, Zach LaVine, 21 points. He got up what? I think he went 7 for 18 or something like that. When you're 200 and that might actually be way too many shots. When you're Mr. 215 million, he was 8 for 15 yesterday. When you're $215 million, when you're $215 million, and I'm one of the people that thinks that he deserved every penny of it, but you got to play like you deserved every penny of it. Right? They're paying you for past production and expect to get that in the future. And we haven't seen that here early on in this season. We've seen a couple of games where he looked good going into the fourth quarter. We got Zach TV and all of that, but you have to come out with the mindset that I have to be the focal point of this team. I have to be the fixed point of this team. I have to be the leader of this team. And you know what? I got the same smoke for Billy Donovan, because when Zach LaVine is playing like this, right, he's playing a little subpar, not giving you I'm not even going to say subpar, right? Like, just didn't come out with good energy. There were guys out there that were giving you good energy. There were guys out there that were giving you good play. There were guys out there that were fighting through. Patrick Williams had 8 points in the first 7 minutes of play? And you didn't want to go to him in those situations. You didn't want to call on his number in those situations. You didn't want to stick with him in those situations. And Billy Donovan has a tough time. No matter what you're doing, you have to be able to pivot. No matter what you're doing, you have to be able to pivot. And Billy Donovan has a tough time pivoting the game plan that he came into. Mike Malone didn't let 3 plays go by before he was calling a timeout. The Bulls would score 3 plays in a row, and he'd be like, timeout, let's stop the run. That's all I was asking for from Billy Donovan last night. That's all I was asking for from Billy Donovan last night. And here's the thing about, right, it's about the bigger picture. And like the video if you agree. It's about the bigger picture with this Bulls team. It's not just about what did they do last night. It's not just about what did they do the game before that, right, versus the what's these ones called? It's not just about what did you do, versus the Pelicans. It's about the mindset that you're coming out with on a consistent basis. And to me, the mindset that this Chicago Bulls team is coming out with on a consistent basis is that of cruise control. When you just set that mug to 60 miles an hour and you're saying, I'm not going no faster than this, I'm not going no slower than this, I'm just going to play this pace, and that's what it's going to be. And I would be fine with that if you were beating the teams that I thought you should be beating. And there's some good teams on this schedule that you're going to struggle against. But don't get too far behind, right? Like, that works. That, coast the mindset works if you're, a little bit above 500 going into the break. Right? Like, if the Bulls are a couple games above 500, 3-4 games above 500, right? I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, you're going into this above 500. You got a little bit of rest coming. You've kind of coasted the beginning of this season. Now in the second half of this season, you need to go hard. You need to start racking these wins up. You need to be playing dominant every single night. But you got to get to that point. And I'll tell you what, I'm not making any long-term predictions on the Chicago Bulls based off of what we saw last night, based off of what we've seen, 13 games into this season. I'm not making long-term predictions off of that at all. But what I am saying is this. The long-term prediction for me is that if your mindset doesn't improve, your game will not improve. And the Bulls' mindsets in the 4 of these 5 losses to me has been, hey, I'm just taking my time. Their mindset has been very I'm just going through the motions. I'm going to make this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then by the 3rd and 4th quarter, they're like, no, we got to get back in this game. Let's go. We got to get to work. But when you spend so much energy when you're down, how are you going to get back up? When you spend so much energy being down, how do you get back up? That's the part the Chicago Bulls got to figure out. Game versus Boston, competitive. They've only had 2 games this season that weren't competitive. But you spent that entire game trying to just claw your way back in it. You haven't seen that game where you felt like, oh, the stars are being stars. You haven't seen that game where you felt like, oh, man, the Bulls are really coming out here tonight, and I can tell that there's nothing the team across from them can do to get back in this game. We got this. We haven't seen that game yet. And that's the game I'm waiting for. And that comes with a different kind of mentality. And it's a mentality that we haven't seen the Chicago Bulls have this season. Bulls got to get their minds right. Bulls got to get their game right. And I think that, I mean, listen, I think half of it is mental, and Billy Donovan talked about as much, right? When he's talking about the team, he says that they're sticking on plays too long. They want so bad to get back into these games. They want so bad to be able to fight back into these games right away. You see them take bad shots. You see them take shots that just aren't advised. You see them take shots that aren't going in. That's a problem. Now, I know last night leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right? But we've seen better defensive play. And I think that's the thing, right? It's about want to. There's too many games where it seems like there's just so many moments of, I don't want to. I don't know if that's on Billy Donovan. I don't know. Like, you got to get more out of it. I don't know. But, like, there seems like there's too many games of I don't want to. Or too many moments of I don't want to. Right? Like, you look at the scoring droughts, and then they're struggling to score the ball, and then on defense, they're not getting back and making plays defensively, and right, like, it compounds. There's too many compounded. Same thing that we were talking about with the Bears, right? You can't compound the problems with other problems. And then, right, you're mad that you didn't get a call on that end, so now you want to go to work on this end. You're moving too quick. Bucci gets called for a travel, or DeMar gets pissed off. Now he's down on the other end. He gets called for a technical foul, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. There's too many moments with this Chicago Bulls team of that didn't look like you gave enough effort. And again, I'm not making long-term predictions, grand predictions on any of that, right? But when you get beat in a game, 126-103, there's definitely, it wasn't like they was just, they splashing on us, they destroying us. No, they had wide open shots and they made them. And for the most part, they didn't make them most of the night. Michael Porter Jr. cooked you, which I'll never forgive Garpax for not making that play. But you know what I mean? Like, in all honesty, you got beat by one dude. You got to be stronger than that. And Billy Donovan talked about it. He's like, that's what young teams do. We're not a young team. That's what young teams do. Sitting there worried about the last play, the last call 2 plays ago. You know, arguing with the ref about 2-3 plays ago. That's what young teams do. We can't be doing that. We got to move on. Let's go. They got to get that figured out, man. You got to get the mentality figured out. There has to be somebody who's going to take the stand. I mean, DeMar essentially, right, like teams are playing him differently, and his shot hasn't been falling the last couple of games, and teams are playing him differently, and he's taking less shots. And, I mean, there's got to be some accountability on, right, DeMar's taking less shots. Hey, Zach, take more. You're our guy, right? You're our max player. You're our number one. Take more. Get going. And for me, right, my accountability, I'm not only looking at Zach LaVine, I'm looking at Billy Donovan. Hey, yo, every time you call a play for Paypayl, he actually makes something happen. He's mad efficient. 15 points last night, 6 for 9. Every time you do something for Paypayl, like you set something up for Paypayl, he seems to be in position to make a play or get a bucket or something like that. Like, let's do that. What's going on? Why aren't we doing more of that if DeMar's not knocking down shots? And it's not even knocking down, not taking them. I think he took 11 shots last night. Shots can't be the question mark. It ain't just the mentality of the players. It's the mentality of the coaches, too. My issue with Billy Donovan the entire time has been that he don't adjust well. Last night was another night where I'm watching MPJ absolutely cook Alex Caruso, who struggled to start this season off right offensively more than anything, but he basically was out there running and jumping, and you didn't put Paypayl on MPJ to try and slow him down in the slightest in that second half. By the time you put Paypayl back in, MPJ had already made 30 points, and the game was over. The Bulls seem like a team right now early on in the season that's mentally fragile. And that's something that we got to fix right now. That's not something that can be long-term, right? Talent's good. Listen, I know they talented. Zach LaVine can play. There's a lot of people that don't like how he plays. Zach LaVine can play. DeMar DeRozan can play. Nikola Vucevic can play. They got talent. Dragic can score. Heck, your two pieces, right? Last night, your two pieces that everybody was complaining about in the offseason showed out. Dragic played well. Drummond played great. Drummond gave you a double-double last night. That's what I'm asking for off my bench. But the mentality has to be fixed. The Bulls' mentality of being worried about plays that happen and they can't move past them and stuff like that, and you're getting technical fouls and compounding issues with other issues, that has to be fixed. There's no talent you could bring in unless you bring in somebody that just is the perfect mental wizard or something like that. Like that's the thing to me that needs to be fixed the most, man. But hey, hopefully, we'll be previewing this Bulls game tomorrow. We'll be talking about, the game that's coming up on Wednesday, I should say. So tune in with us on that. We'll have content dropping throughout the day as well. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Tough weekend for Chicago. Let's hope that the rest of this week goes a lot better. We need some Bulls dubs in this mug, man. Bulls have lost 4 of their last 5, so hopefully some wins will make us feel a little bit better. We got some trade talks around Kobe White, so maybe he could be getting moved sooner than later, and maybe we can be getting somebody in here that's going to help the situation. I don't know where that's going to go, but we'll talk about all that and more as we continue throughout the week. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us for another episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. If you haven't done so, make sure that you
push the button. Come on, push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push the button.
hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and if you're listening on the podcast side, make sure you leave a 5-star review. If you want to join the Discord is in the chat pinned to the top. Click the link on there, and you will be able to join the Discord. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago sports content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.